Hey guys, what's up? Back with another video. Today we're going to do a review of TNA Against All Odds from 2010. So let's get this on the way, shall we? We've got plenty to go through. We kick off with the opening matchup of the 8-card stud tournament as Desmond Wolfe takes on the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, in the opening match. Very solid stuff from these two, as always. Desmond and Pope had a great match at Genesis, one of my favorite matches from that pay-per-view the month before this, so this was no different. It was much more on the shorter side, considering it was a tournament in the opening round. Pope was very over. Desmond Wolfe wasn't very over. He was a very comedic side of Desmond on this night. You kind of knew who was going over on this one because of the crowd support and how the match turned out and how the match was playing out. And of course, Pope would go on to the second round to the semi-finals of this tournament, as he would beat Desmond Wolfe in the opener. Good stuff right here, but better. I've seen better stuff from these two. Next matchup, but you understand, it's also understandable considering it's the tournament format. Next matchup, we had the tag team champions of Matt Morgan and Hernandez facing off against each other in the first round matchup. Winner faces Pope in the next round. This was all about Matt Morgan's heel turn. He was slowly turning heel. They started off as baby faces, these two, and of course they only just won the tag team championships at the Genesis pay-per-view in 2010 in January. So they were baby faces for the most part of this match. You know, baby face against baby face, but a little bit of heel shenanigans at the end by Matt Morgan, as he would prey on his injured tag team partner who injured his shoulder during the match. So Matt Morgan goes over by taking advantage of Hernandez's injured shoulder and gets the win and moves on to the next round. It was a fine match, but it was more to do with Matt Morgan's heel turn going into the next couple of months. Anyway, good stuff. Next matchup, we had Kurt Angle taking on Mr. Anderson in the next matchup of the 8-card stud tournament first round. Now this was pretty interesting because they had a video package. Showing you the turn of events that happened between Genesis and Against All Odds, and it all revolved around Kurt Angle and how he got screwed out of the World Championship by Ric Flair and Earl Hebner and all that stuff. So you kind of going into, there was no mention of Anderson whatsoever, so you kind of were undergoing the display that you under the circumstance that you'd think that Angle would just flow through this tournament and get his title shot at Lockdown against AJ Styles. But that was not to be, as he was a great turn of events, as Mr. Anderson would upset Kurt Angle here in the tournament first round, also making it personal in the process by making him bleed with the dog tag warrior medal Kurt Angle has around his neck, and also spitting on that dog tag, kind of setting up the Anderson Angle feud going into the mid part of 2010. So yeah, good stuff here, good stuff, great match, and yeah, it was a really good turn of events with Anderson busting open Angle. And you think Kurt Angle is going one way, but then it turns out he actually gets eliminated first in the first round. So good stuff right there. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Abyss taking on Mick Foley in the final match of the first round of the 8-card stud tournament. Abyss versus Foley, no disqualification match, made by Eric Bischoff. This was an okay no disqualification match. When you think of Abyss and Mick Foley, you think of anything goes matches. You think of crazy blood, barbed wire, and all that stuff. They were told to use a barbed wire baseball bat by Eric Bischoff. Eric Bischoff demanded that a barbed wire baseball bat was used. If he didn't, then Abyss's mask would come off on Thursday. These naughty boys, these naughty Abyss and Mick Foley, did not use the barbed wire baseball bat. Mick Foley wanted to use it, but he kept getting thwarted by Abyss, who did not want to hurt Mick Foley. So anyway, the match ended with Abyss using the black hole slam into the tacks, and it was what it was. It was a fun match, but I've seen better from these two. Abyss moves on to the next round, to the semi-finals, to face Mr. Anderson. But before we get to the semi-finals, we have a little bit of a non-tournament matchup. We have Team 3D taking on the Nasty Boys, and this was just stupid, man. Yeah, I did not need to see the Nasty Boys in there in 2010. It just screamed Hulk Hogan bringing in his friends and all that stuff. So, but Team 3D tried, but yeah, they were just way past their prime. The Nasty Boys were at this point, and it just brought the show down for me and it put me in a bad mood, really, to be quite honest. The Nasty Boys go over because of Jimmy Hart, and I was like, man. It didn't do anything for me. This is the politest I'm gonna be on this one because, yeah, I just don't want to get my hair off. So, yeah, it didn't do anything for me, and we're gonna move on as the Nasty Boys picked up the win over Team 3D. Next matchup, we had the semi-finals of the 8-card stud tournament. We had Matt Morgan taking on the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro. Very big guy versus small guy matchup. Matt Morgan continuing his heel stick as he would get overconfident against the smaller guy. But that overconfidence would come back to bite him as the Pope would advance to he would make one mistake. He goes for the carbon footprint in the corner, and Pope would move out the way and quickly hit the double knees in the corner and get the win. So Pope advances to the finals. Good. It was good. It was a good big match, big man versus small man match. It didn't last too long, didn't overstay its welcome, and it was pretty good stuff. So good tournament so far. Next matchup we had Mr. Anderson against the Biff. It's kind of like the same match that they had at Genesis. This is a rematch from their Genesis bout where Anderson debuted at Genesis the month before. So yeah, Anderson was coming off the match against Kurt Angle early in the show. Yeah, this was okay. It was a bit like their Genesis matchup, very slow paced. Could have been better, but it was okay. I actually prefer this match better than the Genesis match because yeah, it was just it was just coming in a tournament format and it didn't outstay its welcome. Anderson would work over Abyss's leg and chop the monster down, but he kind of outsmarted the monster by moving his mask so that Abyss's mask was covering Abyss's eyes, so he didn't know what he was doing. Cheap shot by Mr. Anderson, and then a mic check gets the win. Good stuff from Mr. Anderson as he moves on to the final. Good heel work from Mr. Anderson. And we move on to the next matchup, which was the phenomenal AJ Styles defending the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against Samoa Joe, who is cashing in his Feast of 5 briefcase, the second of two non-tournament matches on this night. And I could have done without this match, right, really, which says a lot because it's AJ Styles and Samoa Joe. The in-ring work by Samoa Joe and AJ, when AJ Styles wasn't trying to be like Ric Flair, wasn't acting like Ric Flair, it was a bit pretty solid, but also Eric Bischoff was the special guest referee. I forgot to mention that part. Yeah, Eric Bischoff and Ric Flair just brought this match very much down. It really, yeah, again, like the Hogan Bischoff stuff. Not a fan of it, man. Not a fan of it. I may have to rethink this TNA going back through TNA 2010 stuff. If this continue, I know Bischoff and Hogan are in this era, but I didn't think it was gonna really drive me this angry. So I may have to rethink it. But I'll let you know in March when I think about doing Destination X. But yeah, this match right here, too much Flair Bischoff influence, and if I wanted to see Flair and Bischoff, I'll just go watch WCW in the 90s. So yeah, it was very thingy. AJ Styles being trying to be Ric Flair just really brought me down the mood for me anyway. And yeah, anyway, and then of course the ending involved Flair and Bischoff and Samoa Joe getting distracted by them too, and then AJ takes advantage and gets the win. So very down match, probably the worst Samoa Joe AJ Styles match I've seen out of these two men. But hey, it was what it was. Let's move on to the next matchup. We have the finals. We have Pope versus Mr. Anderson in the finals. But before the Pope could get to the ring, he was attacked by Scott Hall and Six Pack as a message. To say, as Hall and Six Pack was sending a message to Hulk Hogan in their storyline, because it's all about Hulk Hogan at the end of the day in this time in TNA. So yeah, the TNA like to do this storyline a lot where, I think they did it again in 2012 with Jeff Hardy and the Aces and Eights and Bully Ray, where Jeff Hardy was in the Bound for Glory series final against Bully, and Aces and Eights took out Jeff Hardy before the match, and then, the babyface looked like he wasn't gonna, the babyface looks like he's not gonna compete, and the heel wants to win by forfeit or count out, and then the babyface comes in, and it's a very slow-paced matchup, and then the babyface overcomes the odds and wins. So, as here it was the Pope overcoming the odds and defeating Mr. Anson after Mr. Anson did the same thing that Matt Morgan did, which was he got overconfident about the underdog Pope, and the underdog Pope ended up overcoming the odds and becoming the winner, becoming the number one contender for the TNA World Championship for Lockdown. So good stuff here. Just the Hogan Bischoff stuff really was, it just brought a lot of this stuff, a lot of this pay-per-view down. Didn't need to see it. I mean, I get why they did it. I get why they did the whole Pope being the underdog. Just so Taz can say that, Pope won against all odds and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a bit cheesy, a bit corny. But I like Pope. I wish he would have gotten more in TNA. This was kind of like the highest Pope would get in TNA. But yeah, anyway. Pope wins the tournament, and for the most part, I thought it was a very solid tournament, apart from the Scott Hall involvement and six-pack. But it is what it is. The two non-tournament matches just drove me nuts because it was like the Nasty Boys. I don't care about the Nasty Boys, and I didn't care about the Flair and Bischoff influence that ruined a pretty good Samoa Joe AJ Styles, what could have been a good AJ Styles Samoa Joe match. So I'm going to give this pay-per-view a 6 out of 10. Sorry for my negative, how I am for this review, my negative feedback on this one. But hey, happens sometimes, happens sometimes. You think you're in the mood for a pay-per-view, and then throughout the pay-per-view, some things just pick away at you. So anyway, it's going to be it now, guys. Tell me what you think in the comments. Leave me a like if you deserve it, and I'll see you guys in the next one, whatever that may be. And I'm out.